Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Running on Thin Air podcast, where we talk everything running, training, racing, and the endurance community. I'm your host, Brian Taylor, and today I'm super excited to have Lydia Breitenstein joining me. If that name sounds a little bit familiar, it's because we talked with her sister, Maggie, on episode 1. I've known Lydia for several years now, and one thing I can say for sure is she is getting out there and living life, and most importantly, smiling along the way. Lydia, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Right after Maggie, too.
It's
You
perfect
got
timing.
both of us.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here as well. All right. Well, before we get into all the details, I think it'd be good to get started and have you introduce yourself to the audience a little bit. So, but do this a little bit differently. So if I was looking up at your Wikipedia page, I don't actually know if one exists or not, but if I was, and if you had one, what would the intro to your Wikipedia page say?
Well, I hope I don't have one because that'd be a little concerning because I don't know what would be on it. But I think it would obviously start that I was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. Probably would give my birth date, but
You
October
don't need to
19th.
give that. Okay.
If anyone wants to give me gifts, I've lived in Denver the last 4 years. I studied mechanical engineering at the University of Cincinnati, and now I'm working as an air compliance engineer. So kind of followed in your footsteps there. And my amazing amount of free time, love to run and hike and camp and road bike and mountain bike and ski and all types of skiing. So like you said, I love all the activities. I love living life and I love living here. I think it's so awesome, especially coming from Ohio. It's great, but it's not Colorado.
Well, that's cool. You actually started to get into some stuff I want to talk about later, but before we get into that, I'd be interested in what were some of your early influences and getting you into this endurance mindset and wanting to run and mountain bike and road bike and all these other things. Did you have some childhood influences that sort of steered you in this direction?
Totally. I have my parents to thank for that. My mom especially started doing triathlons and she ran a marathon, which was a pretty defining moment in my childhood and growing up. Seeing her cross that finish line, my sister Maggie and I got to run across the finish line with her. And there's
Well, that's
pictures
awesome.
of us in our gear cheering her on. She I'm happy you brought this up because she ran with Team in Training for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in honor of my cousin and her niece who passed away from leukemia in 2009. She actually ran the marathon before Natalie passed, so she was able to bring her medal and got to see her in the hospital afterwards. But she raised a couple $1,000s, I want to say, Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in her honor. So that was really special. Seeing her do that, I think I kind of remember seeing her do the triathlons and marathons and thinking I would love to do this one day. And so that was always kind of ingrained in my mind. And I decided to sign up for a triathlon in college, which is really how I kind of got started into the world of endurance. But we can touch on that later.
Yeah.
Just the influence of my mom, I would say. And we grew up cycling as well. So they started out huge cyclists. We're not totally a running family. Now we are, I would say, but we started out cycling a lot more.
Okay. That's interesting. How old were you when your mom did that marathon? I mean, it sounds like such a pivotal moment in, your life. How old were you?
I think I was 13.
Okay.
It was 2009. So yeah, the math there is right. But it was awesome seeing her do that and also for such a great cause.
Yeah.
Being so young and having a cousin with cancer who was, so close to my age, you feel really helpless. And I know my mom probably felt some of that too, which is why you want to put all that energy towards something good. So I try and raise money for LLS every time I do a big event, like the Ironman, the half Ironmans and stuff like that. So I try and keep her memory strong through that and all the good fundraising.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's such a wonderful organization. And I think I've participated in a marathon with them as well, as has my wife. And, not only do they help you get across the finish line of a marathon and you gain a bunch of friends and the camaraderie and everything with it, but also the money that you raise goes to really a good cause to help those that are, struggling through the disease. So yeah, I can't say enough about it either. That's really a special moment, obviously.
I know. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So leading out of that, did you start running in middle school or high school competitively for the school? Is that when you got into more of the competitive side of running?
Yeah, a little bit. I actually was a competitive Irish dancer pretty much my whole childhood. I don't know if you knew that. I think I maybe have told you that. I started when I was 3 dancing and I went up to age 18. So I did it for a long time, went to regionals and nationals and worlds and kind of did the whole thing. And Irish dance ended the fall of my senior year of high school. And I believe Maggie touched on this in the first episode, but our cross country team and track and field at our high school was huge. An amazing amount of girls signed up for it every year. It was a no cut sport. So I had a somehow got a bunch of girls in our senior class to sign up just who had never done it before. So there were like, I want to say 30, 40 girls out of our class of 160
Wow.
do track after like senior year. Maybe not that many, maybe like 20, 25, but a great amount. And I got all my friends to sign up. And so, we all found a place on the team. And that for me was sprinting. I remember the endurance, the cross country girls would go for maybe like 3-4 mile runs. And I was like, I cannot do that. There's just no way. So I'm like, I'm a sprinter. I think I tried out one run that was like 2 or 3 miles and I could not make it. So, my events were the 2 and the 4 and the 4x2 and the 4x4. So it was it was a really fun time. I got addicted to it. We had a really great season and I had some pretty good times in the 400. I didn't make it to state or anything crazy, but it was the only year I did something of that
Yeah.
competitive running nature in high school. But that's kind of where I started running, but I would call that like half seas.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Like, so overall, I mean, it sounds like you had some pretty fast times and maybe you didn't go to state after trying for 1 year and probably competing against other girls who had, been doing track maybe since, middle school. How did overall all those girls that you convinced to join the team, like, were there any standout performances or anything else from others on the team as well?
I think we had a couple like, whoa, you have a career in running. Like, I think some of the soccer players who had done soccer their whole career and did track, their last semester, they were so fast. They're really good at the 400 and the 800. I actually, one of my best friends, couldn't quite find a spot on the like running events, but she found it in the shot put. Like,
Wow.
she was out there doing shot put for us, and it was hilarious. I loved her for that. She just totally embodied it that whole season, which was awesome. If anything, it was just so fun. Like, we got to hang out with all of our friends. Every weekend we had a meet, and every day after school, and we had practice. And it was kind of our last chance to get to hang out with each other before we all went to college. And it was awesome. It's a good time.
It's
And I
sort
got to run with Maggie. She was on the team too. So,
Okay. Okay. So she
but
was
yeah.
she was just starting right in her high school career, I imagine.
Yeah, I think she was a freshman when I was a senior, so that
Okay.
was another reason. She did it throughout all of high school. So it was fun. We overlapped for one semester and she crushed it. She's
Yeah.
a star.
But it sounds like track for you and that 1 year especially just sort of brought out, probably what we'll talk a little bit about later too, but just that community, especially that running. I mean, I'm sort of biased, but that endurance sports brings, right? And you sort of started to experience that during that track season.
Yeah. It gave me a little a little taste of it.
Yeah. So I want to jump on the Irish dancing for a second. How do you think that might have helped you for
Oh
track?
my
I
God.
mean, the first thing I can think of is your ankle strength, maybe, at least what I see when I see Irish dancing. I think I'm going to have injured ankles for the rest of my life. Yeah, what aspects of that training, especially competitively at a competitive level, do you think helped you when you got into running?
Yeah, I mean, I also think just endurance and strength in general. We had dance practice like 5 or 6 days a week, depending on the time of year. And we danced all year long. We trained all year long. There was never really an off season. I I look back on it, I'm like, how did I do that? It would be hours every day after school where I'd drive up and go to the studio, and we always stretched. We had Pilates. Then we would do our practice, and then Saturdays we would have 3-hour practices with, we'd always did workouts and got our stretches in. It was more intense than you would think in terms of dancing.
Yeah.
And also that ankle strength. I never broke an ankle. I never had any injuries. And now I think my ankle, knock on wood, is just like elastic. I roll it and I'm just like, that's what we did in dance all the time. And I actually really wanted to break my ankle sometimes. I'm like, I do not want to dance. Like, I need a break. And so I would have Maggie try and break my ankle for me, and it just never was successful. So even when I purposefully tried to break it, I couldn't.
What an intense, I mean, I've known that dancing, if you're doing it competitively, it's an intense sport. I mean, it is a sport. It's not something you just do
Yeah.
casually or anything. If you're competitive, especially something like that, that has so many movements and so many actions and requires so much strength,
Yeah.
it's
The
definitely
ab
a sport.
strength,
Yeah.
the way I had to move my legs. So every year around St. Patty's, I try and bring it back. I'm like, oh my goodness, I cannot move like that anymore. I had to kick some right.
Well, I have to say, I have been fortunate enough to see at least a dance or two, I think probably on Instagram, but it sure seems impressive to me. I always thought that dancing was pretty impressive. So
It's a
that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's move forward a little bit. When you got into college, did you do any sports in college? Did you run, or did you just focus on studies and maybe other things as well?
Yeah. My first couple years were really just studies. I don't I wouldn't even like to go to the rec center. I think I just was I just had no desire to do any of that. So I focused on studies and partying and having fun with friends and meeting friends. So that was definitely my priority. I believe it was my third year or my fourth year. I signed up for my first triathlon with a couple friends. Someone had the crazy idea to do it, and most of us, I really didn't know how to swim competitively, let alone in open water. Thankfully, my best friend and roommate swam all throughout high school. So I got lessons from her, and that's when we started going to the pool or riding the trainer in the rec center when we couldn't ride our bikes around campus. We had a really urban campus, so it wasn't great riding. So I did a lot of the trainer, and then maybe I ran a little bit on the treadmill. I didn't train much. Training is a really strong term for what I did to prepare, but that was kind of the later years in college. I think I did maybe 2 or 3 triathlons with the same group of friends, and it was just fun. It was different. No one was doing it. And, I had seen my mom do them. And so I had all the gear from her, the hand me down stuff. And it was fun. I definitely, oh my gosh, I blew those times out of the water once I started training for real, but it gave me a little taste in it. I also signed up for my first half marathon during college, and that time was horrible. I just didn't train. It's just embarrassing to admit.
Oh my
It just,
gosh.
you can kind of just do that stuff. But it set the bar really low for when I started running. And now my PRs are just insane. They're like
Yeah.
30 minutes faster. So, yeah, college wasn't my greatest endurance time.
Yeah. Were your triathlons, were they sprint triathlons or longer?
I did a sprint and then I did one that was half of a half Ironman. So it was a little longer than an
Okay.
Olympic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or maybe my first was an Olympic and then I did a little longer. But I know I did one that was like a 9-mile run and a 30-mile bike or whatever. So it was kind of
Oh,
like
okay.
to a half Ironman.
Okay.
And that was maybe 2 years before I signed up for my first half Ironman. I got
Wow.
the book.
Man, you did it all. And so how was that? Was that a local half marathon there in Cincinnati?
Yes, that was a Flying Pig half. Yeah.
Oh, the Flying Pig half. How did you feel about that? Like, what did I mean, it doesn't sound like you did a lot of training maybe for it or not planning for it. So what was your lead up into getting to that half marathon? And then how did the race feel based on that lead up?
I mean, it felt horrible.
That's a simple answer. It was horrible.
Yeah, my mom did it too. And my best friend Sam. We all we signed up because I think my mom signed up. And it was just something we wanted to say, like, oh my gosh, we did a half marathon. Like it started to get a little bit trendy. Like we had some friends who were dipping their toes in and running. And so it sounded like something fun to do and something we kind of wanted to brag about. So Sam and I did one run before. We did an 8-mile run and called it good.
That was just on a weekend day or something. You just decided to
Like
run 8 miles.
probably the weekend before. We
My
decided
gosh.
like, well, we need to just make sure we can run almost the full thing. I sound like a delinquent, but I wasn't into it.
I'm surprised your mom let you do that. I guess you were an adult, so she probably was just
Yeah,
like,
she probably
you know,
didn't know the lack of training.
the lack of. Did you run with her during the half marathon, or did she take off and run by
My
herself?
mom.
Yeah, yeah.
So, funny enough, I do think I was ahead of her just a little bit, though. We didn't run together. I remember Sam and I were trying to run it together, but one of us went off on our own. That didn't work out either. So, we all finished. It
That's all that
was,
matters.
yeah. I mean, that was my first half marathon. And then I think the second one I did was with you a few years ago in Golden. And my time was almost, I think, like 40 minutes faster. So
You put in a lot more miles training for that second one than you did with your first one.
yeah, but it makes me feel really good.
Yeah. Hey, take the PRs. I mean,
Right?
it's good when you're young. So obviously, you don't recommend that to everybody to just go sign up for a half marathon and do an 8-mile training run right before. But when you're young, it's a little easier to get away with. I don't want to call it a mistake, but it's easier to get away with that kind of a training plan. It's certainly much harder the older you get, depending on what your goal is. But you achieved it, and that probably led you to many, many more things. So maybe jump from there. Yeah. So you achieved this half marathon, you got a medal, you'd already
Yeah.
done some triathlons. What was your next step for you? I assume at this point you're probably about to graduate or you already have graduated from
Yeah.
university.
Yeah. So I graduated during COVID and 2020, and it was obviously a tough year. The job search was really difficult, not only for me, but all my friends. And we were stuck in a house together with my two best friends. And, what else is there to do when you're on an empty campus? Like everyone went home. But since we're from Cincinnati, we had our rent or we had our house until the end of the summer. So we stayed on campus. And really, that's when I started. I was so bored. I started running. We did yoga every day. We got really into headstands. Really, all of my friends, we would meet on campus and just be outside. We had graduated at this point. We had no jobs. We just had to kill our time somehow. So that summer, it was so fun. It felt like I was in high school again. But sorry, there's a cat that just jumped on me.
That's okay.
But yeah, that's kind of when I started with the running. And then I think that's kind of what led me in that boredom to say, like, I want to try for a half Ironman. I still had loved triathlons and just didn't have, or I had more time now to train post school now that I was in the workforce. So that fall or winter of 2020, I signed up for my first half Ironman, which was in June of 2021. So I spent all winter starting to prep. That was a true training plan. I didn't have a coach, but I did research on my own, and I definitely favored biking over running. So I biked a lot. I tried to run. It still was hard for me. I just have never stuck with it enough to really get good at it, I guess.
Yeah.
I had my first half Ironman June of 2021 in Maryland. It was the Ironman Eagleman. They just had it last weekend or 2 weekends ago. And it was so fun. My sister was the only one who could come out and watch. I did that one with my friend Sam as well. She was my roommate. I bring her up a lot. She's who I did the half marathon with. We kind of did all the triathlons together.
Yeah.
We signed up for this, and my swim was so fun. I got stung by a jellyfish. They had a jellyfish migration that day that thankfully I didn't hear about it till I was in the water. And I was like, ow.
So,
And I still didn't register what it was. It was on my neck, and I still didn't register until I heard people around me being like, ow, I just got stung by a jellyfish, to like the kayaks or the boats that were there. And then I started feeling like when I would stroke, I would sometimes touch something really squishy. I guess that part of Chesapeake Bay was really well known for these jellies to kind of migrate through at this time of year. So I had that to combat, but when we got out of the water, they had vinegar for us. Great start. If I could survive that, I can get on the bike and run. And that bike was so good. It was so flat. It's still to this day, I think, one of my fastest 50 milers, probably the fastest. I want to say 20 miles an hour I was just about at 3 hours. And, my goal was 3:15. So I felt like I smashed it when I saw the clock. It's like, wow. And then, of course, the run, I just absolutely died. I got to it, and I think it was a 2.5 hour half marathon, which I was so proud of for my first half iron. Obviously, I wasn't. I keep mentioning this because it's what propelled me to sign up for eventually a full marathon. So I ended up doing Boulder 70.3 2 years later, had about the same time, still had a kind of, the run was really where if I could cut off time there, which I believed I could have a much better overall time because I felt really strong on the bike, and the swim is as good as it's going to get. I even improved for Boulder a little bit on the swim. But after my Boulder half Ironman in 2023, I was like, this is the year I'm running. I want to get really good at this triathlon thing. So I want to perfect my run. And I think I could cut that down to, 2 hours at least. Excuse me. Sorry.
That's okay.
He's jumping up on me. A 2 hour half marathon at least. Yeah, I signed up for the Flying Pig, as you know. Early, or what would that be? 2023, probably right after my half iron, sometime in there, because I did the Flying Pig May of 24. So that's when it all came together. I met you. Well, I had met you already, but decided to go with you for coaching, and the rest is kind of history with that marathon. Is it okay if I start talking about that? I guess I kind of
let's jump into that.
Yeah. I started training officially with you that January, about 5 months before the race. And I was so proud. I don't think I maybe missed 1 or 2 runs during that time. Like, it was really inspiring for me to have you as a coach and be able to, for real, with this, like, I'm going to be a runner. I'm going to get better. this is it. This is the time. I want to win at Ironmans. I want to run a triathlon. So I'm going to do that now. And I stuck with the plan. I had so much fun while doing it. That's when I did a half marathon in Golden, and it was 40 minutes faster than my first half marathon. It was just all these PRs left and right because I finally stuck with it. And that felt so good to finally, have something where I'm seeing visible results and feeling myself getting faster and it getting easier and therefore more fun to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The flying pig, it didn't go as planned in terms of like meeting my goal time, but at the end of the day, I could not care less about that. It was really such a amazing thing to go home to my hometown for this race. And I was recognizing people on the course. Like, they didn't even see me, and I was calling out people just so I needed something to look at and have fun doing, because you kind of get bored out there for so long. But, running around all these streets I've known for years since I was a kid, and it was so special. My good group of friends was able to see me at mile, I believe it was 20 or 21. And my one good friend, Shelby, had just ran a marathon the week prior. But that girl, she hopped in and she had the most inspiring chats and little tidbits from just doing it herself a week before. She ran me pretty much to the finish. Just like, I think she popped out right up. And my other friends ran with me for a mile or so. So that was just, I needed that. Right at mile 22, that was the toughest part for me. I was expecting to see my family at 20, but they had to leave to go catch Maggie finishing, which I figured, actually. I was doing some math in my head. I'm like, I don't think they're going to be able to see me and see Maggie finish if she's on pace for her goal time. And so I kind of was down in the dumps about it, and they had a cooling towel for me because it was such a hot day, super humid. It was a red flag day in terms of heat. So I was really wanting some cool water, but my friends were there to save the day. And yeah, I'll never forget that. Just the community and the friendship and the love I felt from them cheering me on was the coolest thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you kind of hit in on it a little bit, but going back into the training before that, how did that consistency feel for you? Because I get the sense that was one of the big reasons that you started to see so much improvement, because you're right. I don't remember how many runs you may have missed, but it wasn't many. And we have to remember that living in Colorado, you were training through the winter for a spring race, which is really, really hard to do sometimes. And even your half marathon, I think it snowed, was it the day before? And quite a bit. And there were questions whether it was even going to happen, because it was just on a bike trail. It wasn't on a road or anything.
Right.
So talk a little bit about that consistency and that training through the winter to get you to the pig.
It was hard. I mean, I'm very much a run after work person. I've started recently running in the mornings, but at that time it was all after work. And so I had to get lights and I had to pump myself up, even though if I was tired after a long work day, I had to put on all my gear and really perfecting, what do I need to wear when it's 30 degrees? What do I need to wear when it's 20? What about when it's 40? How warm do I get? And oh my gosh, the headlamps and the lights. And I just remember these dark, cold nights in the neighborhood behind my apartment, running, just doing what I can to hit all of my training milestones and making sure I really followed true to your plan. And I think it was just that motivation in the back of my head of, I really want to get into this running thing. My sister's good at it. My dad's even good at it. My mom. This flying pig thing is going to be awesome. I was just really inspired and motivated. It kept me balanced. I loved how I felt while running. It's kind of, I like to tell people, it's the only time really my brain kind of quiets down, and everyone knows the great effects running has on your mentality, but it really is so true. I could kind of lock everything out, or if there was something I was thinking about, I found that to be a really good time for it, where I I could really focus on the one thing and then, think about it for 45 minutes to an hour, and then it was done and it was great. Yeah, lots of icy runs. I think the coolest thing I learned in that training block was that zone 2 training. I had never done that before, and that was new for me. But it was so neat how I had 12, 13-minute mile pace on most of my runs. But then when I would race, I could hold times that I've never held before, like that half marathon in Golden. Remember the night before, I'm like, oh my gosh, Maggie, there's no way I can run this fast. Like, I forget what our goal was. Maybe it was 2 hours,
Yeah, I
which
think so.
I had never done that before. So it was this like, what are we doing? And so, yeah, it was really cool to hit that goal at that race, because that was the first time I had ever ran that fast. I had never done that before. So now I know we're a year later, and now I'm kind of pushing it even farther, which is cool. But
Yeah.
that training was so cool to see the progress. Even when I was going, again, 12, 13-minute miles, I'm like, I'm not really breathing hard. This is great. How am I
Yeah.
going to run like a 9-minute mile? And sure enough, it happened.
Yeah. It was so fun to watch. And I remember too, I think one of the other things that you were really good about, besides just being consistent, was adaptable. And I know we communicated a lot, but if I recall, I think it was either your longest planned run or maybe the second longest planned run right before the marathon. It was a typical Colorado spring day where the wind, well, maybe not even typical, atypical 90 mile an hour or 80 mile an hour winds out your direction west of town. And I think you said, what should I do? Should I run it today, which I think maybe was a Friday instead, just to get a day where it wasn't quite so windy? Am I remembering it right? I think you.
Exactly right. I forgot about that, but it was my longest run. And I want to say we probably did 3 hours, two and a half, 3 hours.
Probably 3. Yeah.
And I think that Saturday it was predicted like 80, 90 mile an hour winds. And Friday it was warmer. It was really warm. Must have been April. But I'm like, I think I need to get this in today, because Saturday and Sunday look horrible, and this is my longest run. So I was at work, and I remembered maybe texting you or something, and I left work early, of course. And I remember I called my boss on the run at the time, and it's like, hey, I know I'm not at my computer, but I really need to get this run in. Like, do you care? It was like a Friday afternoon. He's like, be safe. You got it. I went, and it wasn't the greatest run because it was just as windy, I think, on Friday as it turned out to be on Saturday.
Yeah.
I just ended up getting windburn and sunburn. And by the end, I think I was crying, calling Maggie, probably. Yeah. I also had to do some runs out in the mountains too. I still spent some time skiing because that was still important to me. And I know we talked about it, of like one day skiing, a weekend, one day running. And I was pretty good about always finding somewhere to run. Even in the mountains, it's a little more difficult. Like, not many paths are snow plowed, and I had to kind of do a lot of back and forth running. I did a run up in Winter Park where I ran between Winter Park and Fraser like 4 times to try and get in the miles, because that was the only sidewalk that was plowed. But I did it, and I kept up with it. Yeah.
You did. It was great. And I tell you too, I think, that particular weekend when you did the long run, and to have the thought, like, maybe I should just do this today, but to not have had the time, at least this is from my experience, to get mentally prepared for, I have a 3-hour run today. So, you kind of typically you line those out on your weekend. You're like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to eat breakfast. I'm going to be out the door at a certain time, and I'm going to do this and that. You sort of have your whole day planned ahead of time, and mentally you can prepare yourself, but you just like, I think I need to go do this today. And then, within probably an hour and a half, you're getting ready to go run 3 hours, which is just, it's mental strength and adaptability that I think is important, will probably carry through with many, many other activities that you do. But I thought that was pretty impressive, and something that obviously stuck in my head. I thought I remembered it right.
You did.
So I'm glad I did.
That means a lot. Impressive or stupid, I don't know. Sometimes I'm one and the same.
Some could argue most of what we do is probably not the smartest thing sometimes, but
Yeah.
that was kind of a good segue. You were talking about skiing. Obviously, I know you've done some triathlons, you do some running. Talk a little bit about some of the other sports you do. You've mentioned biking, if you want to go into a little more detail on that, but also your winter sports that you like to do.
Yeah. I think, moving out here, you kind of get it's a different environment. And my whole life, I have loved trying so many different things. I get really bored doing the same thing for a while. So I had to obviously learn everything I could when I came out here. But yeah, last year I did my first mountain bike race, and that was super meaningful. And it was a life goal of mine, something I never thought I would get to do and train up for. So the Emerald Mountain Epic and Steamboat is awesome. It was so fun. I had a blast. I didn't go fast by any means. I get really scared on the downs, and so try to charge up uphills and then took my time coming down, but had so much fun. It was awesome. And the next day was a trail half marathon. So it was a doubly loaded weekend, but I was really proud of that one. And then this winter, my new favorite thing has been these uphill ski sessions where we woke up on Friday mornings around 4 a.m. and traveled up to Bay, got our skis on before the sun kind of peeked over the mountains and started climbing. And we would watch the sunset from somewhere on the mountain, take incredible photos with the snow and the sun, and get up to the top around 7:30 usually, ski down, be in the car on the way home before 8, and usually working like before 9, which is just so cool. I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. It was an awesome way to wake up and get the day going. I just always looked forward to that cup of coffee we'd get after, or a breakfast burrito, and the good company I had while going up. It was always a big group, maybe 5, 6, 7 people. I think one day we probably had closer to 10. And Bay does a breakfast up there some days, so they'll have
Nice.
people kind of climbing all morning, and then you get a breakfast slot, and that was awesome too. It was a great breakfast, so we did that one day, and it was really cool. That was my favorite part of this last season. I had more uphill days than downhill, where I used lifts. So most of my skiing this winter was from my own power and climbing up on my own. I felt it was a great addition to training. The lung strength that I needed to climb up some of those hills. I definitely noticed, like, from the beginning of the season to the end of the ski season, where I kept up with this climbing, this uphill piece, I noticed a huge difference. It got way easier, but it's still never easy. But some of those mornings were just incredible, especially if there was some fresh snow and no one else had skied it yet. It's awesome. And I did a cross country ski race too this year. That was
That's right.
brand new. Again, didn't train really. I trained on uphills, but I have my own cross country skis just from growing up, and I'm like, oh, this will be easy. Pretty hard.
As it turns out.
As it turns out, pretty hard. I still did really well for what I thought I was going to do. I do Nordic classic, so not as fast as the skate skiers, but I held my own. It looks like I did horribly because they don't break it up between type of skier you are. So I came in like almost, I would probably be the last quarter, but most of those were skate skiers and they're way faster than me.
Yeah.
That was really fun. And that was a race I actually had my eyes on since I moved to Colorado. So it was cool to finally cross that off the bucket list. And yeah, the Alley Loop and Crested Butte, it's awesome.
I'll tell you, Lydia, you have such an adventurous spirit. Like, you're just willing to come out and try anything, and maybe on no training or hardly any practice or whatever it is, but that's just who you are. And it's really cool. I'm curious. I would love to know, and I'm sure the audience would be interested too. I mean, I get a sneak peek because I see a lot of these early morning activities that you do, whether it's the uphill skiing or a very early morning run. What do you think it is that has motivated you to do that, to get up early, and do those kinds of things? Is it the outcome? Is it the camaraderie? What is it for you?
Friends, the camaraderie. This last year, I joined a really awesome triathlon club, run club. And as you know, that's where I meet Thursday mornings at 6 a.m. And I started going probably about a year ago. I wasn't consistent really until the fall, but being able to wake up and know like, oh, I'm going to see some of my really good friends is just so fun, especially on a Thursday. You know, you need some things to look forward to in the week. And funny enough, I look forward to waking up at 5 a.m. and I get there most Thursdays. And it's just so fun to see these smiling faces and people who have the similar mentality as I do. We kind of transitioned. It was the same group who did the Thursday runs, where in the winter we would also do the Friday skis. And now in the summer, we've been doing Friday lookout climbs. So it's a really great group. I can't be thankful for these people enough. They're awesome. And I've met some really, really great friends out of it. I didn't have a ton of people I knew, or not much family. So it's their family to me. And it's been fun to meet them within the last year and just get to hang out with great people who are like-minded and do fun things like I do and have that adventurous spirit. And we always get coffee after. So that is another motivator. I get up, I'm like, wow, I can't wait for my coffee. And you feel so good. You run, you chat with people, you're laughing, and then you get a good cup of coffee. And it's a great way to start the day, to take naps during lunchtime on Thursdays or Fridays. So it definitely catches up to you, but it's fun.
That's great. I love it. Yeah, I've seen some of those photos, and that's a big group of people. So that helps a lot. That's a lot of fun.
Right.
I know I wanted to ask you too, because I know you've done a little bit of work with a charity recently too. I would love for you to talk about that. It's not the Team in Training Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, but talk a little bit about that charity that you've worked with.
Yeah, I've been volunteering for the National Sports Center for the Disabled. They are based in Winter Park, Colorado, and I believe they started for ski instructing. So they've been around for a while. I think since the 80s. I could be getting all of this wrong. I'm still pretty new, but I've done a little history lesson on them. But they've been around for a while, and essentially what it is training up people to ski instruct and help give those who didn't think they could ski a chance at skiing. They like to say, you know, there's no one we can't help. Like, we get everyone on the mountain. There are so many pieces of equipment, adaptive equipment that we use to get kids of all ages, adults of all ages out on the mountain and skiing, which is just really special. And last year was my first year ski instructing. I got involved in it because of a family friend of ours. Their daughter has cerebral palsy and lives up in Winter Park. So they are super involved with the program. And I went and saw her at the Special Olympics, and I got to ski with her one day in Winter Park this year with the volunteers for NSCD. And I'm like, I have to do this. This is awesome. So I got trained up this year. I did assistant training. So this year I just started as an assistant, not the full pressure of being an instructor just yet, but I got to kind of shadow a couple different lessons this winter to see what it's all about. And I had 2 incredible days out there. You know, I'm busy, but I got to get out there when I can. And it was awesome. It was also my biggest ski day downhill, where we skied all day and so many runs. Like, oh my God, I am tired. I'm cooked after this day, but it was a great day and we just had loads of fun. So it brought back some of the love of skiing for me. You know, with crowds and stuff, it's hard. And I just wanted to find a different reason to ski other than just trying to go the fastest and get down the hardest runs for myself and bring back some of that passion in skiing. And this summer I'm helping out with mountain biking. So I got trained up on adaptive mountain bikes a couple weeks ago, and I got to ride some myself, and they're terrifying. They're so neat, very, like, they can really tip over. So we got to practice what it's like to be on those. And so hopefully this summer I'll get to do some of that. And I also got trained up on therapeutic horseback riding. So I got to learn I've never dealt with horses before. So I went to a pasture. They have a ranch out at Snow Mountain Ranch, YMCA of the Rockies, and it's stunning. And I it was awesome. I now love horses. I'm so excited. I have a couple times this summer where I'm volunteering with the horses. So it's a great organization. And I've been trying to convince all my friends to join. I had one friend join a ski instructor this year and hopefully get more soon.
Wow. That's awesome, Lydia. I mean, volunteering is it's hard to put into words how meaningful it is and how not just for the people that you're volunteering for, but for yourself, I think, until you actually do it and get to experience it and see the help that you can provide, the hope that you can provide for others. I think it's just amazing. And so thank you for doing that and for sharing that. I'll try and put notes in the show links too or links in the show notes for those as well, so people can look them up also if they're interested. I'm really curious, just briefly, what does an adaptive mountain bike look like? I don't think I've seen one of those.
My gosh, there's all different types.
Okay.
We worked with just 3 different types alone, but I think they said they had even more. What we were on had 3 wheels, and I think all of them were 1 wheel in the front, 2 in the back, but they also have some that are 2 in the front, 1 in the back. But they have mountain bike tires and then all sorts of different configurations. So some of them you kneel and you're pedaling with your arms, or some you are fully sitting down and you're pedaling with your legs if you have leg motion. They had a really crazy, like brand new, hot off the market mountain bike that had really good suspension. Like it was you could kind of it was the hardest to really knock over, even though it seemed really easy because of how much it could move. Like you could turn and like be on the ground, but it's way better than some of the more stiff, less suspension bikes that if you hit a rock the wrong way, it'll kind of topple over.
Yeah.
But I can send you a couple pictures too. They're really neat. They're low to the ground and just all different configurations depending on the disability, but it's awesome.
Yeah, that is. Just one more thing, and then maybe we'll start to wrap up with a couple more questions. If, all that you've learned, you're young, but I feel like you've learned a lot when it comes to sport and athletics. If you could either go back to maybe your earlier days or to somebody else that wanted to get started in doing some of these activities that you're interested in, what kind of advice would you give somebody?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, running's tough. It's not instant gratification. It takes a while to get, to see those results and get to feel that, oh my gosh, I just did that. Like, and I feel good feeling. But I think running's so neat and endurance sport because truly, I think anyone can do this if you put your mind to it. Like I really didn't think I could do this stuff. And really, it's all up here of, hey, like you can do this and you just got to make the time for it. I have a busy life, but I still get in the hours every week and I get to just make the time. It's hard. And some days I don't get it, but most days I do. And I think it's really neat running, especially because all you need are your feet. Really, that's a cat. But all you need are your shoes, your feet. Yeah, there's all this fancy gear, but at the end of the day, it's just what you have on you. So I think that's really cool because it's a low barrier to entry. You don't need a fancy bike. You don't need all this gear. Now there is some crazy fun gear and like really expensive shoes, of course. But, at the end of the day, it's just with your body. It's with your 2 feet and your brain. And I think that's really cool in terms of accessibility for running and getting everyone, if they want to do it, can. And, it doesn't matter the time. I also consider walking fast sometimes running like that. Yeah. You're getting out there and you're doing it. And, some days when I can't fit in or don't really want to run, I try to walk, even if like, no matter what, sometimes I still don't do, but yeah, walking's important too. And for me, with, again, my motivation coming from my mom and my cousin Natalie, who passed, I always like to think about, those people who can't. I think that also plays into why I like to volunteer. I hate to take it for granted, like all these cool things I do. I'm very lucky to be able to do them. So giving back to NSCD when I can and just thinking about my cousin who's no longer here with us. those people give me the wings during a race to push through, especially in those tougher endurance and longer days of, I would do anything, and I'm sure to bring Natalie back, or she would probably do anything to be able to be back on this earth and run a marathon. So if I'm getting in a bad headspace, that's where I kind of turn back to, and how lucky I am to be doing this. So that's kind of my advice is you're lucky if you're here and you have 2 legs that work and a body that lets you exercise. So use it well, use it wisely, and enjoy it.
I love it. I love it. And if you aren't fortunate, then there's communities like that can go out there that you can participate in and have somebody help you do those things too. So you're not on your own and you can get help. Yeah,
exactly.
That's awesome. Wow. I think that's probably a good place to leave that part. I do want to leave just a little time. I want to talk about what's next for you. And you've already had a very busy year. We've talked about some of that already, but what do you have next on the horizon? I know you have several activities still this year. You want to talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I have the triple bypass coming up in a couple weeks, which is...
Explain that. Yeah, explain that to people who might not know.
It's a bike ride here in Colorado. I'd say it's pretty infamous. It's like it sounds, over 3 mountain passes, 3 big ones, but there's some littler ones in there too, where I'm like, this is really 5 passes. I don't know what these people are talking about. From, if you look on a map, it goes from Evergreen, Colorado, all the way to Minturn this year. So it's a little longer than, I think it's about 118 miles and 11,000 feet of gain. It's a long day on the bike, but I did it a couple years ago and it's so fun. So I wanted to do it again.
Yeah.
And then I have the Javelina 100K, my first try at an ultra distance trail. Here I am jumping from a marathon to a 100K, 3 almost months in a day. That's going to be awesome. We have so many friends coming out for that. My sister and I are going to run it together, hopefully. And try my hand at it. Who knows? I'm starting to prep with nutrition. I'm on my protein journey. I've been eating a ton of protein and nailing down my electrolyte intake and my fueling during runs, all the carbs. So that's the big one. That's the A race this year, and race or fast walk or hike, whatever.
All of the above. All of the above. And I mean, you know what a little bit to expect because you and Maggie both at least had 1 lap out there last year. So you kind of know what you're getting into.
Exactly.
Just multiply it times 3 and you'll have the same run.
Easy peasy. One lap's already done. The second lap is going to be the one that counts. And then the third lap, we're basically done.
Yeah, it's basically over at that point.
Yeah. It's just 1 lap, really.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Lydia, you've had such an incredible year already in the last couple of years. Just being able to see you and see what you've accomplished has been inspiring to me. I know it's inspiring to a ton of other people. I know your sister Maggie is completely inspired by you and loves you, and everything that you do is just so important to us to watch. And we're fortunate that we're able to watch it. If others wanted to watch your journey as well and all the things you do and the fun posts that you have on Instagram, if you want to share, go ahead and throw that out there. If you want to throw your Strava too, we can link that. Yeah.
Yeah, Strava, I like to say, is my favorite social media. It's great. My name on there is just my first and last name, Lydia Breitenstein. And then Instagram is at LydBreit, which is LYDBREIT. Yeah, I like to post fun pictures with all the stuff I do. So hopefully that's entertaining for people.
That's awesome. I love it. We'll turn people onto that. One last question. If you had the chance to share some miles to go run with somebody, they don't have to have been a runner in the past. They don't have to be alive necessarily either, but who would that runner be and why?
I would have to say Amelia Earhart, because not only is she inspiring and badass, but I would love to run with her ghost to find out what happened. Like, where did she crash? I think it's that island, but no one knows. It's been one of my, for years now. I'm like, where is Amelia Earhart? So I would love to run with her. She's also just a badass. I think she's inspiring. So I don't know if she was a runner. I think she had other passions, but I'm sure she would be an entertaining guest for a couple miles.
I am guessing so. And talk about another woman who broke so many barriers
Yes.
for women in her life, as short as her life ended up being, unfortunately.
I know.
Yeah, did so much for women in aviation and probably well beyond that as well. So, and yeah, everybody wants to know what happened. It seems like
Right.
every couple of years there's some headline that says we think we figured it out, and then actually they didn't actually figure anything out. So, but
I know.
it keeps
It's a
us thinking.
mystery.
Yeah,
But yeah, I love her whole story. I think she's awesome.
awesome. That's great. Lydia, thank you so much for joining. I've really enjoyed this. You're such an amazing person, and I just can't wait to see what's happening in the future. I'm super excited about Javelina, of course, because I will get to be out there with you.
Yep.
At a much slower pace, but hopefully I'll see you pass me a few times. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I just can't wait to watch what you do in the future. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Brian. I'll see you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Talk to you later.
See ya.
Hey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that podcast. I enjoy having a conversation with Lydia all the time, and I hope that came through, and hopefully you enjoyed listening to her story as well. We'll be having her on the podcast along with her sister Maggie as we all approach the Javelina 100K and 100 miler coming up in October. So keep your eyes out for that. Speaking of which, if you like the podcast, please like and subscribe. Subscribing, of course, is the best way to get notification when the next episode arrives. Right now, we're doing about a monthly schedule, but we may increase that here soon. So I'd really love your feedback as well. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching, I do have athlete slots available. So check out my website at 2feetcubed.com. That's TWOFEETCUBED.com. All one word, all spelled out. Feel free to schedule a free consultation. Let's see if we're a match. And I'd love to help you out and achieve your running goals. With that, we'll leave it here, and we hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Running on Thin Air podcast. Thanks.